You know, recently the calls I've been receiving are from California and New York, and the calls have tripled recently. So me, being curious, I started asking everyone who called, why are you, doing this? And I started doing my own research, and this is what I found out. Hi, I'm Steve Kemis, a local realtor specializing in new construction here in beautiful 80-degree and partly cloudy Port St. Lucie, Florida. So first of all, this is not meant to be a political video. I do my best to stay out of that related to real estate. But the people that have called me from New York and California have run the gamut in terms of demographics. So they've been mostly men and women, mostly couples, that are estimated to be anywhere between 40 and their upper 60s. And they come from what seems to be multiple races. So with the increase in calls, once people say they're from New York or California, I ask them, I say, what makes you want to move to Florida and Port St. Lucie in general? Now I ask this of people from all over the country, but now that the calls are increasing from those two states, I want to know a little bit more about why these calls are increasing. So here is what they tell me in no particular order. By the way, if you're wondering where I am walking along the C-23 canal, which borders Belterra, which is a wonderful community. And it's really quiet out here, a good place to walk the dog. I actually take my gravel bike, and these roads along the canals will go 40, 50 miles uninterrupted, no cars, safe. So this is one of my favorite places I like to kind of hang out. First, they tell me about the weather. People want warm weather. They want the 35 more minutes of light in the dead of winter. They want warm water. In fact, the ocean water in January off Hutchinson Island is almost exactly what it is in the mid-Atlantic states in July. I mean, people are buying a bit further inland, out of the floodplains, where they can get reasonably priced homeowners insurance, and houses can be built to hurricane standards. So that's the first reason. So second is the high cost of housing in other locales in the United States. While Florida housing, the market here isn't as big a bargain as it was before the COVID epidemic, the houses in Florida and in Port St. Lucie in particular are far less in price than many other desirable states, especially New York and California. Port St. Lucie even has lower housing than counties that surround St. Lucie County. Further south, people from Florida, from further south, are finding Port St. Lucie to be much more affordable. Now, the government needs to still get their money. So the reasonable home price you get, the higher the taxes will be, because they're not taking in as much of a house to tax you on in price. So they're going to tax you a little higher rate for buying a lower house. So speaking of taxes, number three, people I talk to and many experts cite high tax and cost of living as an exodus reason for California and New York. Florida has no state income taxes, which saves me a lot in my pension or any income I decide to bring in. It also doesn't tax Social Security or inheritance. Now, number four, they tell me political reasons. At least 1/3 of the people I talk to from all demographics mention political reasons as why they're leaving New York and California. Now, I highlight from all demographics because some will assume it's only white people fleeing these areas when my calls are mixed. Many minorities find housing in Florida more attainable than other places. However, the bulk of the people contacted me are upper middle class or middle class, and they easily qualify for mortgages, and most of them have the cash to make the purchase outright, especially after selling their home for more in other states and buying the house here for less. Now, I don't delve deeply into a client's political views, but I want to mention this topic as a reason for moving out of New York and California. People do cite the political climate. Now, five, and this is probably one of the bigger ones, business friendliness, which means how the state taxes, incentivizes, and regulates business. So in recent rankings, California and New York rank very low in business friendliness. They're near the bottom of the national list. For example, in CNBC's 25 rankings, California was 48th and New York was 50th for business friendliness. Now that's CNBC. Now six, these people I talk to say crime. Crime and homelessness are huge reasons why they're seeking to leave New York and California. While this might be their perception or specific to the exact neighborhoods where the people lived, it's still mentioned as reasons why they're leaving. And I can say Port St. Lucie has one of the lowest crime rates overall in the country, you know, in the whole nation, much less Florida. So regardless, there's an upgrade in this category to be had here in Port St. Lucie. So all this being said, here's what my research shows. Now keep in mind, different sites will have different numbers, but I try to seek out, you know, raw numbers and stay away from anything overtly conservative or overtly liberal and try to give you the numbers down the middle. So California had a domestic migration loss, that's domestic, of 239,579 people as of July of 2024. But that was offset by an international population spike of 361,057 people. So established folks are being replaced by international residents in California. Now the same for New York. New York had a net migration loss of 121,000 people, domestic exodus, but that's offset by 200,161 international people coming in. So in both cases, the number of people living in New York and California leaving to other states is significant compared to people moving to both states from the United States. The research shows that these people are also people with more economic means than the people replacing them. So the above reasons given to me in my personal interactions and the already mentioned research are the main reasons for the increased number of contacts from people from New York and California. I guess the recent elections in New York aren't helping either. I mean, whatever's going on there, people keep calling. You know, regardless of wherever you're from, Port St. Lucie is a pretty good place to live. And you need to come spend some time here and take a look around and see if the place is for you. So that's what I'm here for. So hopefully you find something that fits you if you're looking into Florida, maybe to retire or just to relocate. And thanks for spending a little bit of time with me and checking out the video. I did leave some links to some references below on numbers, but I just wanted to touch base about my experience and my real estate interactions with people that are coming from other states, especially New York and California. Now, if you found this useful or interesting, you know, please give it a like and subscribe. And as always, if you want to talk about anything real estate related, contact me. Information's right here on the screen and in the description below. Until the next time, I'll see you. Bye.